Soledad Haren, who is from, who I met during a day before Earth Day this year, April 21st, on Thursday, in Union Square Park, while maybe 150 different groups, environmentalist groups and others, had tables and exhibits and handouts and showing their activities, their actions and wares. Some people were selling particular things, furniture, etc. And she was one of the people who was doing some explaining of what her organization is. And I thought it would be great to hear about her. And there are many of these groups that we don't hear about because we're all lost in our own congregations and our own silos, you might say. And Soledad has definitely impressed me. And I've looked at some of her works, and I thought this would be great to have her on and to introduce her to you, the audience, and the listeners, viewers of our show. And I hope to have her on in a more continuous way, too. So, Soledad, why don't you explain a little bit about your organization and yourself, and jump on in.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. So I started Build a Better Planet. We're a nonprofit organization. We got started about 10 years ago, and we produce different media productions. Right now we have 4 different talk show podcasts and 4 music podcasts. The talk shows are all dealing with environmental issues, and the music shows all feature progressive indie artists who are doing something for the environment in their own community. And yeah, so we've been doing this for about, like I said, about 10 years. And we also we're relaunching our magazine this year. So that's another little thing that's been keeping us busy. And how I got into doing all this, I used to work, used to do the 9 to 5. I used to work at a law firm in Lower Manhattan. And I was there when 9/11 happened. And, 3 days later, we were told to go back to work, and we were told the air is fine, and, don't worry, the air is fine, which, in retrospect, it really translates to they wanted to open up the stock exchange, but, what is that old saying, you can't hide your lying eyes? Well, in this case, it was you can't hide your lying nose, because that smell just permeated the air. It smelled like burning hair or something for like 6 months. And I kept thinking, why are you telling me the air is fine? It's clearly not fine, because this is not what air is supposed to smell like. And so long story short, I did end up, developing a number of health problems, and continued working downtown until about 2004. And at that point, just decided I'd had enough and wanted to do something a little bit more meaningful. And all the while I was dealing with health issues. One of them was skin problems. I have really bad problems with my skin if I am near certain chemicals or use certain chemicals. So I have to pay attention to what cleaners I use, what cosmetics I use, stuff like that. And when I left, I actually went to work as a chef. So I did a complete 180, got out of the legal field and went to go work as a chef. And at one job I had that was pretty cool. It was at this yoga studio that had a cafe attached to it. And one of my coworkers, saw my skin was pretty bad and said, "Have you tried borage seed oil for that?" To which I replied, "I don't even know what borage seed oil is, so I guess not." And he said, "Oh, you should really try that." So I went to Whole Foods, and or I guess you could go to any health food store, right? I'm not doing a plug or anything, but I went to the health food store to check out and find out what borage seed was. And turns out it's an essential fatty acid. So an EFA contains like omega oils, omega fats. And sure enough, it started helping me with some of my health problems, where I've been going to doctors for years and getting no relief. And they'd want to put me on things like steroids, which, only made me angrier and made me gain weight. And, but I wasn't noticing any improvement. And so that's when I really started kind of changing my relationship with food and the way I look at food, really trying to learn the link between food and health, and trying to look at, physician heal thyself, trying to treat food as medicine. You are what you eat, it makes a difference. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to share it with others. And from there, it kind of snowballed into other issues and learning how interconnected things are. And that's kind of what got me on the green track. And that's how we started doing our very first podcast, which was Green Living. And that's how we got started. And so I've been doing this continuously full time since 2010.
And you've chosen not a business or a manufacturing thing or activism or legislation or running for Congress, but you've chosen environmental communication. That's
Yes.
what you're interested in, radio of different types. Can you tell us a bit about what these radio shows are and how often they are? And as you're talking, I'll put down the links to some of your organizations and how to contact you. But you can mention that also.
Yeah. It's our platform is Third Strike Radio, and so we have 4 talk shows. One was our flagship show, Green Living, and then we launched a sister show called Época Verde in Spanish, and basically the same show just in Spanish. Then we have Green Times in Arabic, and Green and Woke is our latest show that just started. It's been on the air now 5 years, and that's for the African American community. And each show kind of follows the same format. We always start out with a food segment because of my love for food and my background. But again, it's kind of trying to help people be healthier, live healthier. And, one thing I really have become aware of in New York City, and I know this is true in many, many large cities across America, is the phenomenon of food deserts, where it's like, how can you be in a city of millions of people and yet you'll have a community that doesn't have a grocery store, or where they're having to travel over a mile to get to a grocery store. And then, just in learning about that, I started looking at how these things kind of interact. Some of these very clever solutions that some neighborhoods across the city have done, like community gardens. And now I've gone to places like in Houston. I went to a vertical farm called Moonflower, which is a farm in the middle of Houston, city of several million people, and they're growing things vertically. So, just looking at these really cool ways that people are, trying to solve this issue. So we always do our food segment. We give out healthy recipes, and trying to get people to try different things and try, healthy things. And then we have a talk guest is our second segment. We've had authors, filmmakers, politicians, activists, fashion designers, anybody doing anything that's cool and eco-friendly. We bring them on to talk about what they're doing. And then we always end every show with one of our awesome progressive musicians. And, they're all indie artists and who write original music.
Wow. And how often are the shows on?
Every month. They're monthly.
On monthly. All right, we'll put the link to how to get those shows, and they're archived, I guess, too, right?
Yes. We have everything archived on archive.org. So that goes back to, I think, around 2014, 2015. You can hear all of our back episodes.
Is there a certain day and time that you're on when you do the first show?
Not really. We usually start promoting it a couple days ahead on our social media. And so each show has its own separate social media. So you'll have like Green and Woke and Época Verde, they all have their own page. And we also have Build a Better Planet page. We have a Third Strike Radio page, and we're on Build a Better Planet on Instagram rather. And so we'll start promoting it a couple days ahead so a new one's coming out. But yeah, right now it's every month. YouTube is Third Strike Radio. That's all of our music shows end up on YouTube, and those go back a few years now as well.
Yes, I've seen some of them. They're very colorful, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Good taste there. Now you're also an activist. So
I am.
you're not just sitting at the radio station or sometimes traveling to a spot, but you
Right.
mentioned some activisms that you're going to be doing in the next few days. I think there's something, and Tuesday you're going to Albany, and then you mentioned something about going to Appalachia and doing a walk up there. Can you talk a little bit more about
Yeah.
that, or anything else that you're about to embark on?
So this Tuesday, we're joining Build a Better Planet is joining other groups like Food and Water Watch and New York Renews. We've done a number of actions with them. And we're going up to Albany. We're trying to electrify all of New York. The first step is to get new construction to stop putting in gas. So, your stove, your water heater, in all new buildings built in New York, we're going to try and get them all to be electric. And so that's what we're pushing for while this is coming to the end of the New York legislative session. And so that's why we're going up to Albany in person. And at the end of the month, we're joining a group out of Appalachia, and we're actually walking from West Virginia to North Carolina. So need to burn off some of those COVID pounds, right? COVID comeback. But this is to raise awareness about a pipeline that they're trying to put in there to stop that.
Do you have any names of some of those pipelines that you want to mention?
I don't right now. I will be getting that information soon, and that way people can certainly lend their support. It's an area that's really near and dear to my heart. I have family that came from Kentucky and parts of Ohio that are near that region, so it's really dear to me. But
well, I hope we can follow you on that as you're actually walking. Maybe we can get
yes.
communications from you and follow you for a little bit of that time as you're doing it. And how long will that walk be? It sounds like about 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah. It starts May 24th, and I will be there through the end of May. I think there's another group that will continue on into deeper into North Carolina, into the beginning of June.
Wow. Okay. And why not to North Carolina? That's just where the pipe.
I think they're following the route of the pipeline, the proposed route of the pipeline, and this, it brings up an environmental justice issue, because it's really funny when, well, not funny, haha, but funny as in peculiar how they draw these routes. I mean, you've seen it with DAPL, with the Dakota Access Pipeline, where they'll draw a line, a proposed path, and then all of a sudden, wait, this one goes through a more affluent neighborhood or a more affluent town where people, but I've actually heard the companies say is they choose the path of least resistance. But what they're actually meaning is the path where there's least public resistance. They're choosing areas where they think people aren't going to care or people aren't going to notice. But in the end, they leak, it goes into your drinking water. And quite conveniently, they always tend to reroute it through lower income neighborhoods, very often neighborhoods of color, neighborhoods of people of color, rather. And, that is injustice, And so we're trying to raise awareness about that.
And this is the same problem, whether it's in Oklahoma, North Dakota, or any part of the United States.
That's right.
Other countries,
That's
same
right.
kind of situation. Yes, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I hope to get more updates from you and the other groups that you'll be with there.
Yes, it's a coalition.
Report on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love that. And do you have a upcoming show? Can you tell us the substance of maybe what your next show might be, or are you still working on that and not ready to?
It's actually Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually are, again, as part of being green, one of the things we try to talk about is like alternative health, trying to get, right now they said the average American takes 3 prescription medications per day. And, so we try to look at, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a doctor, I don't play one on TV, but are there other ways, and then again, just based on my own experience, are there other ways to improve our health that may not require medication? or maybe less medication, or something that can work in conjunction with medication to help people feel better. And so we're looking at on our Green and Woke show, we're going to be interviewing a health wellness practitioner who incorporates things like meditation and Reiki and and other things to incorporate in her mental health practice. And that's not a big mental health right now is kind of a new thing that's being discussed in the African American community. It's not as accepted yet, and so I think that's very important, especially coming out of COVID. I mean, people are still kind of adjusting to coming out of this, and there's a lot of issues there. A lot of people were affected. A lot of people had tremendous loss. I lost 13 friends and 3 family members. So people are kind of still coping with that. So that's going to be the focus of our May show is mental health awareness show.
Tremendous.
Mental health awareness month.
Well, you're definitely not a one-issue person, that's for sure. You seem to be pretty comprehensive. And I think from one of our conversations prior to this, you said that you're also a Climate Reality Project graduate. That's Al Gore's group of trying to get people involved in things. But you're talking about climate change. You're talking here about diet. You're talking here about pipelines and infrastructure, energy. You're talking about building electrification. You're talking about the legal process. So you're very well grounded and rounded in all of this. I hope you will hear a lot more about these things more in depth as you proceed. That's quite a challenge for you, and I'm glad that you cover so much.
I'm glad you brought up Climate Reality, because they actually have their very first in-person training post-COVID. Which is going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. I think people can still register, I believe. So if you want to get trained, this will be our first post-pandemic in-person training. I'm really looking forward to it.
You're going to be down there for that?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping I might be there as a mentor. So I'm waiting to hear.
Congratulations. I'm a graduate from Chicago in 2013, and I believe you said you were a graduate in 2018?
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Angeles. Wow. And when is this Las Vegas one taking place?
June.
In June. Okay, I'm behind.
Yeah.
So many
Vegas in the summer. That's going to be a little warm. You'll feel climate change firsthand there.
And maybe we can get a report from you or some of the other people that we know from that area at that time. That would be a great to hear what's going on there. It's a 3-day event, I assume, or a 2.5 event usually. And it's always a great show. And all right then. Is there anything else you'd like to say at this time? And I know you got a million things to say, and they're all very worthwhile, and we can really go in depth. But we've only got a certain amount of time here. So is there something else at this time you'd like to mention?
No, I guess that's it. Just, like and subscribe, follow us on social media, and definitely I'll be giving you some reports from the road. and just follow along. Okay,
well, thank you, Soledad. And
thank you.
Look forward to more workings with you and reports from you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
I saw a great big tourist bus of folks from out of town. For 40 days and 40 nights, they covered miles of ground.